Hi, my name is Sissy, and I want to welcome you to my show, Getting Healthy with Sis. I am married to my hunky husband, Matt, and together we own a fitness and nutrition coaching studio in Lakeland, Florida called Restoration Fitness and Nutrition. We have 2 little boys, and I've been a nutrition coach for 5 years, helping countless people to revamp their lives and see amazing results implementing one healthy habit at a time. My passion is to help women just like me realize they don't have to be a victim to poor eating habits and poor health. Instead, through proper education and empowerment, they can take control of their health and live the healthiest and happiest life possible. As you tune into my show, I promise you're going to learn new things about your health. You're going to be inspired to take action towards your goals, and you're going to have a ton of fun along the way. Hello, guys. Welcome to the Getting Healthy with Sis show, and I am so excited to dive into this topic with you today that we're going to be talking about. So, as you probably know, if you know me, if you don't know me personally, then you might not know this, but I am currently pregnant right now, and I wanted to record a series of bonus episodes for you guys to be let in behind the scenes of my pregnancy. I'm going to tell you the good, the bad, the ugly. I'm going to tell you what pregnancy is like for me, how I struggle through it, some wins, some not so great wins, some things that I know I must do to help me to feel my best, all of those things. But I want this to just be of benefit to you, whether you're pregnant or not, whether you're old or young. I hope that these bonus episodes that I do through my pregnancy are that you find them entertaining. Maybe you could share it with, maybe you have a daughter that's pregnant or a friend that's pregnant, or maybe you're hoping to get pregnant soon. I hope that you will enjoy these. So currently I am 22 weeks pregnant, and this is actually my husband. This is our 5th pregnancy. So we got pregnant pretty early after we had first gotten married. We were just honestly just dumb. We didn't know. I mean, we didn't know what we didn't know. We got pregnant pretty quickly, even though we were trying to not get pregnant so quickly. But I'm so thankful that we did have that surprise baby. That's our first child, Maddie. He is 5 years old, and he is awesome. He has given us a run for our money, like pretty much since he was probably 8 or 9 months old. He's a very active little boy. But anyways, we had Maddie. He was born right around the time that actually our gym, Restoration Fitness and Nutrition, was born. So those two, we had 2 babies at one time. We had a gym baby and a human baby all at once. So we had Maddie, and then a few years passed, and we were, okay, I think we're ready to get pregnant again. Let's go for this. And we got pregnant again when Maddie was in his 2nd year. He was 2. We got pregnant again, and I wound up carrying that baby, who we had named George. I wound up carrying him till I was 21 weeks pregnant, and he actually died in my womb. And so we walked through that, but I carried him for a good amount of time. We walked through that and walked through healing and the process of that. I'm actually going to be doing some episodes on how that experience was for me down the road. But we walked through that. It felt like, okay, it's time. Let's try this again, knowing surely that this would never happen again, losing a baby that late. And we got pregnant again with another little boy who we had named Benjamin. And I carried him into my 18th week of pregnancy, and then he died as well. So I had to give birth to both of those babies, which means I had to give birth to them, but I carried them almost both of them about halfway through the pregnancy. So that was the 3rd pregnancy. Okay. And then, praise God, we got pregnant again with our little miracle baby, Wilson, and yay, he is here with us. So that was our 4th boy. Okay. Our 4th pregnancy, 4th boy, was Wilson. And then I am now pregnant again with our 5th boy, okay? 5 boys. I literally, being a young girl and getting married, I remember telling Matt, I specifically remember us on this walk when we were engaged, and I remember telling him, I think I'm going to be a mom. But that was not like this huge desire of my heart. I was not like, some girls, you talk to them before they get married and they're like, I just want to be a mom. That's all I want to do is be a soccer mom and raise children. And that was not me. Okay. So when we, by surprise got pregnant with Maddie, it was kind of like I was thrust into it almost before I felt ready. But I'm so thankful it happened the way that it did. And so thankful for my journey through the 5 babies that we have had. And this baby number 5, Matt and I knew that we wanted to have a 3rd child. After Wilson was born, we knew that we did. But man, going from 1 to 2 babies was really hard for me, or going from 1 to 2 children. I had Maddie by myself. I was with him by myself for 4 years, and he got all of my attention, and I felt like I could really manage it well. Well, he's challenging. So there were times where I was like, what do I do with this kid? But I could give him my undivided attention. And then when here comes Wilson, it was like, oh my gosh, like I know I had to release a lot of control maybe that I felt like I had in my mothering, and realize like, oh, he's not going to get this like perfect experience of me all the time. And neither is Wilson. And I had to be okay with that because I was more tired. My attention was more split. Still to this day, Maddie's asking me for stuff. And I'm like, honey, I will be with you in a second. I have to help your brother as well. There's only 1 of me and 2 of you. So just give me a second. I'll be with you in just a second. So anyways, but we knew we wanted to have a 3rd child, but Matt and I were going back and forth. We felt like our family wasn't done. I remember us even talking several months ago and, kind of going, are we through? Are we not? And I told him, I said, I think this is how I know that we're not through. I said, if you were to come to me and tell me that you wanted to be done and you felt like we should be done having children, I would feel really sad about that. Like, I don't feel like that's right. And I would feel that would feel like, to me. And so I was like, I think that's how I know for myself. I know that I do want to have another child, but at the time, I was still very overwhelmed, okay? So owning a business and having children and, all of the different things in life that happen, it requires a lot. And I'm someone that I like to, put my best foot forward and give my best. And any avenue where I find myself, where my effort is given, I want to give my best. And I want to feel like I'm actually able to give my best too. That's important to me. And so, Matt and I have always joked, like, I'm not one of those women that's just like 5 children, 6, 7, blah, like that. I'm like, that is amazing. Like, if that is like what you're called to, and what, like, I have total respect for you, because like the way I'm wired, like, I don't think I could handle it. I don't think I could handle all of the moving pieces. It's just a lot. So anyways, we knew that we were not done, but we were actively preventing getting pregnant. Okay. And I one day I was, actually, I had been sensing some different changes in my body. And I was like, is everything okay? This is weird. Some different things that I was picking up on. And I was kind of like, should I go to the doctor about this? What's going on? Not at all thinking that we were pregnant. I mean, we were like, And our youngest at the time, Wilson, was about 13, 14 months old. And that's another thing about me. I'm like, I need a little space here, okay? Because I do not consider myself a control freak at all. I feel like I'm super laid back, but I'm like, I can get overwhelmed easily. So I'm like, I need a little bit more space. I'm not ready to get pregnant. And even in January, when Matt and I, January of this year, so like 7-8 months ago, we were talking about our New Year's resolutions. And I was like, mine is to not get pregnant this year. That was like my New Year's resolution. And, here we are. But anyway, so I was noticing some changes in my body, and I was like, I think I should call the doctor on Monday and just maybe like get an exam or whatever, have her check in on me. And then I realized, so I was going to call the doctor on Monday, but I realized on Sunday that I was maybe a day or two behind on my cycle. And I was like, oh, do I have a pregnancy test? Let me just do this real quick. It's going to say negative. And I did have one at home. So I just went in the bathroom and took it, and bam, it was positive. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I went to find Matt in the house. He was outside cutting the grass. And I was like, okay, I'll wait for him to get in. And, he came in, and I pulled him into the bathroom and showed it to him. And he was like, whoa, oh my gosh. So anyways, this baby, our baby I'm pregnant with right now, he was a surprise. And just to be, vulnerable, I always want to be vulnerable. I feel like that's what's most helpful for people. But I kind of struggled with it for a while, because I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to manage this? I already feel like my life is so full. How am I going to manage this? Oh my gosh, I feel like having, I felt like my baby Wilson, I felt like he was still a baby, and he is still a baby to me. He's only 18 months old, and I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, I know people have kids 2 years apart all the time. It's like, it happens all the time, but I'm not one of those girls that can handle this. And so for a while there, it was, I was having to have heart-to-hearts with my husband and get it out. Oh my gosh, how did this happen? How are we going to work this out? All that kind of stuff. But I'm definitely in a much better place now, but it was a surprise at first. But I wanted to tell you guys a little bit, as I finished up my first trimester, I just wanted to kind of be real with you, tell you some things that I struggle with and deal with in my first trimester. But I also want to tell you some things that I have found through being pregnant 5 times, that I have found that have been kind of make or break things that have really helped me to have a better first trimester. So if you're listening to this, a good majority of women deal with some type of morning sickness or some type of nausea in the first trimester of pregnancy. And I am one of those women, okay? With Maddie, it was, that was my first child. I had no idea what was happening to me. I was just like, what in the world? I'm throwing up all the time. I'm it was a shock. When you've never been through that before, you're just like, what is happening? I remember one day I was at home and I was throwing up. It was one morning, and it was like food was coming out of my nose. It was like lodged in my nose. It was awful. And I took a picture of my face to send it to my husband, because I looked in the mirror and I had mascara running down my face. And I was like, I look so scary right now. I am dying. This is so bad. But anyways, so I went through first trimester with Maddie, and that my nausea lasted probably between 15 and 20 weeks. And then I remember still being nauseous when I delivered George at 21 weeks. So I was still going through that nausea zone and that throwing up and food aversions and tiredness. I was still going through it when I had George. And then it was pretty much and when I had Benjamin, I was still battling with that. And after I had Benjamin, because, that's very rare to lose 2 babies in a row like that so late in pregnancy. When I had Benjamin, we wound up doing some pretty in-depth testing of me, because the testing that they did on Benjamin, they couldn't figure out. They were like, he was healthy. I was healthy. They couldn't figure out what was going on. And so we did we paid for some pretty extensive testing with a doctor in Spain to kind of look at my blood, see what's going on. And one of the things that came from that, a very simple thing, was when he was looking at my blood work, he was like, you are magnesium deficient. Well, that's not going to lead you to lose a baby. But I was like, listen, tell me anything and everything you can, because I don't want this to happen to me again. This is terrible. And so he said, one of then the report that came back to me was, you are magnesium deficient and you do need to begin taking this supplement. And he gave me this specific supplement to begin taking. And so along with many of the other things that he saw in the recommendations that he gave me, I began to follow those things, obviously like a textbook, because I was like, I don't ever want this to happen to me again. I don't ever want to lose a baby like this again. And so I was very dedicated to following that. So one of the things that I began doing from that point was I began taking this amazing magnesium supplement every single night before bed. And I noticed right away like how relaxed it would make me feel. And I really noticed that my quality of sleep was improving, even though I didn't feel like I had an issue with my quality of sleep at that time. And so I began taking it, and I was taking it faithfully and consistently. Well, then Wilson was a surprise. We get pregnant with Wilson. And I remember in that pregnancy being like, I don't feel that sick. Like my nausea is way, way better this time. And really throughout the entire, like that first 20 weeks, it was better. And so that kind of got me thinking, what am I doing differently? And one of the little cures that, is out there for pregnancy nausea is like, put this magnesium oil or magnesium spray or whatever, do these magnesium things. That's one of the things that's very common to be recommended to help with pregnancy nausea. But what I realized was, oh my goodness, I was deficient in magnesium. Like there's blood work to show that I was, and I have gotten my levels up over the past 6, 7, 8 months. And now my body is not at that deficit. How is this helping me? Because I knew, I'm like, man, magnesium is something that, you'll read about helping with the nausea. But man, if my levels are where they need to be, how is this helping me? And one of the things that magnesium helps with is blood sugar balance. And, now being pregnant 5 times, I've read, and, a lot of times when you're trying to learn, like, why do you have pregnancy nausea and morning sickness? Like, a lot of stuff you read is like, we don't know. We just have it. But one thing that I have through trial and error, again, being my 5th time through trial and error that I have figured out, is it is a blood sugar issue. Okay. And one of the things that happens is the way that our hormones are changing in those first several months of being pregnant, it does impact our blood sugar balance. And so just run with me here. Typically, before in my pregnancies, I would feel nauseous and I would only want carbohydrates because that was something that would pull. What do carbohydrates do? They pull your blood sugar up fast. And I would get relief fast. And I would feel, I feel better. Okay, the nausea's gone away. But guess what? If you're only eating carbohydrates, what happens? If you're only eating them, you get a high blood sugar. It goes up fast, and what happens? It comes down fast. So then within like another hour, here I was again, sick as a dog. I need to eat again, but I don't want to eat. Ugh, just that whole cycle. If you've been pregnant, you know what that feels like. But in my pregnancy with Wilson, this was number 4, I was not coming into the pregnancy magnesium deficient. Okay, so that was helping me right there, helping with my blood sugar. But I also, because I was feeling a little bit better, I began to have the wherewithal to know like, hey, let's experiment with this a little bit. What if I don't just have like that piece of bread or like sourdough bread or, that fruit that's going to pull me up, temporarily, and then I'm going to crash. But what if I pair some protein and some fat with that carbohydrate? And do you know what? That pairing that protein and fat with the carbohydrate, it stayed with me longer. Okay, when you pair food together like that, protein, carbs, and fat, that will pull your blood sugar up, but it doesn't pull it up high and it doesn't come down quick. It actually pulls it up and it sustains it. That's what we know about pairing protein, carbs, and fat together. It's more of a sustainable spike, and then it comes down slowly. So I began to feel in pregnancy number 4, if I can eat protein, carbs, and fat together, even though I don't feel like it, even though I feel sick and I just want comfort, food right now, if I can do that, I'm going to actually feel better for maybe like 3 hours, okay? But here's a caveat, and I remember telling my husband this in this pregnancy. For some reason, okay, I could do that, and it helped me. So if you are pregnant or looking to become pregnant, that's a piece of advice I have for you. But this is interesting. The more unhealthy the carbohydrates or the heavier the fat in the meal was, literally, I don't really know how to say it any other way, but the more like unhealthy the food was that I was eating, it would stay with me longer. And that's honestly it's a really crappy part of pregnancy, especially when you're someone who's health conscious and a nutrition coach, and you're I remember in this pregnancy number 5, one day I was I just feel so bad. And I feel like cheese fries from Outback are the only thing that's going to make me feel better. And so I'm boys, get in the car. We're going to Outback. It's 2:00 in the afternoon. We get to Outback. No one's in the building because it's mid-afternoon, which we don't ever go to Outback. And if we do, I've probably had their cheese fries once or twice. That's not something that I'm wanting or craving on the normal, but I was I know those carbs and that it's just it's going to pacify this nausea. And it did for 4 hours. And guess what? Because I felt better, I was okay, yes, check. That was success to me, even though I'm I hate eating this food. It's just, pizza and things like that, heavy bread with cheese and stuff that would make my nausea feel better. So that's kind of the ugly side of what first trimester looks like for me. But I would try I'm going to eat this salad, or I'm going to eat these fresh vegetables. But it just didn't have the hit for me I was needing and looking for that. It didn't do the same thing for my nausea as the unhealthy, heavier bread and bready type foods would do for me. But I just want to share with you, if you are someone who is looking to become pregnant, or maybe you are, I really, really recommend you getting consistent on a quality magnesium supplement. And we'll put in the show notes the one that I use so that you can look it up. It's great. But that is really going to help you. And you don't need to just start taking it right when you get pregnant. You need to make sure that your levels are sustained, are to where they need to be going into pregnancy. And I really can say, through trial and error and experimentation, that is something that has really helped the nausea to not be as overpowering. Because in my pregnancies, my 2 that I've had when my levels were at a good, healthy range, the nausea was a little bit more manageable. So that's a tip there. Now, let's go into the mental, emotional side. So typically in all of my pregnancies, which there have been 5, I usually get to the point in that first half where I look at my husband and I'm I feel really depressed. And I don't like this. This is not good, because all I want to do is lay around and then I have to freaking eat all the time. And I want chips and pizza. And that's the only food that I could figure out that makes me feel better. And then I probably feel worse because I'm eating that food, and it's just, I'm inactive. I'm just laying around. I'm not cooking. I'm a woman, I cook 5-6 nights a week. I'm on top of things. I feel like my brain is lost somewhere, in our business. I'm just I just feel like a shell of a person. I really feel about 1/3 of myself in that first bit of pregnancy. And it gets depressing. When you don't feel good, for like months on end, it's just depressing. It's hard. It's sad. And usually, like I said before, it usually lasts me, usually by about week like 16, 17, 18, it's getting better. With that magnesium, it has been a little bit more short-lived than it was before, so I'm thankful for that. But it gets hard. And so I just want to encourage you, like, it's not all daisies and roses. And, but typically when that nausea goes away, I feel like a totally new person. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I want to cook again. I want to exercise again, all of that. It comes back to me. But one of the things that my husband, through even this pregnancy that he was just trying to encourage me with was he was like, this is just temporary. Like, it's temporary. It's going to pass. And I'm like, I know, but it doesn't feel temporary. Like, I still have 5 more weeks to feel this way. I can't do it anymore. And he would be like, it's just temporary. And so anyways, just trying to cling on to that. Like, if you're in this season right now, or you will be in this season, or someone that's in that season, it's hard. It's hard to feel like crap day in and day out, and to feel like I think a big one for me is like, I'm a doer and I like to like get things done, and feeling like I can't do that. It feels like you got benched, like you were in the game, and it's like, you go sit on the bench for a little while. And that, honestly, that is, and it has been hard for me. And it's something that even still that I am working through in my personal life of, the beauty that comes from having children. They're such a gift, but the limitations that it puts on you, especially when you are someone that's like, let's take on the world. Let's do this. Like, there's a beautiful sacrifice that comes along with it that is 1000% worth it. But if I'm being honest, like, it's hard for me to, feel bad in the beginning, and then to, be able to manage my children well, and my desire to be like fast paced in life. But one thing that, Matt and I have been talking about lately is, this season when they're young, and I'm told this all the time, that I know it's so short. It is like so short. I'm like, Matt, like 5 years from now, like we'll be able to go on a vacation, and guess what? Like, all of our children will be able to swim. Like, 5 years is not a long time. It's like putting it into perspective of like, I'm like probably only going to be in the baby years like another few years, and then they're gone forever. They're gone. Like, I'll never be a young mom again with babies at my house. And so just like those things that I've been kind of helping myself through because it is hard. It's a sacrifice, and it's especially hard when you're pregnant and you feel bad, but your kids and your family still need you, and you feel like you can't do for them what you want to be able to do, or that you have been able to do. That's hard. That is hard for me, because I'm like, I don't know if it's just my driven nature, or I don't know what it is, but it's just hard. And so, but keeping a perspective is really, really important. And so if you're a young mom, I want to encourage you with that. I know that it's hard and it gets rough, and the sacrifice is great, but for myself, I am so glad that God hijacked my path and what I thought I needed and what I thought I wanted and what I thought would be best for my life. And I am so glad that He allowed Matt and I to get pregnant by surprise with our first child, because, this is another funny thing as I close down. When Matt and I had been married about 6 months, and I remember we went on a camping trip together, and I remember sitting at that campfire with him one of those nights we were on that trip, and I was crying, and I was like, I just don't know if I'm ready to have kids yet. And he was like, what's the big deal? Let's do it. Like, he was like ready anytime, and I was just like, it is such a big responsibility, and you have this child, and you could like ruin their life if you're like a bad mom. I had a great upbringing, but still, it's a big responsibility. And I was just like, I just don't know if I'm ready for this yet. And I'm crying. Well, do you know what? 2 weeks later, I found out I was pregnant with Maddie. And so it's just, and I was so happy. Like I loved him from the moment that we found out we were pregnant, but it was not a part of my original plan for myself or what I thought was going to be best for me or for us or whatever. So I'm so thankful that the Lord comes in sometimes and is like, you know what, we're going to mix this up and it's going to be all good. Picture this with me. You're sitting down to make your grocery list for the week and you're stumped on what healthy items you can add to your list that are going to fuel your body while helping you to reach your fat loss and body composition goals. You want some easy go-to items to stock in your fridge and pantry that you know will increase your health while decreasing your waistline. Well, I have the solution for you. I have created 3, that's right, I said it, 3 amazing shopping guides for Aldi, Sam's Club, and Costco. So if you're someone who frequents these grocery stores, you can download these lists for free, and I promise they'll guide your shopping experience in a spectacular way. So if you're ready to download these lists now, you can go to gettinghealthywithsis.restorationfitnesslkld.com. I'll say it again so you can write it down. That's gettinghealthywithsis.restorationfitnesslkld.com. So that about concludes everything that I wanted to share with you about my first trimester of pregnancy. So I'm going to be doing episodes through each of my trimesters and then one postpartum, at least one postpartum. But I hope that you have enjoyed this. So I wanted to just leave you with a recap really quick, okay? If you're listening and you're newly pregnant or you are planning to become pregnant, I want you to focus on getting your magnesium levels up to an optimal range. You can do this through getting blood work with your doctor and having them go over that with you. But also just know that in America, due to the depletion in our soil that our food is grown in, most Americans, like between 70 to 90% of Americans are actually walking around and they're magnesium deficient. So chances are you might fall into that 70 to 90%. So it's not going to hurt you to go ahead and get a good supplement and begin getting on it and taking it regularly. Again, we're going to put that in the show notes so you can scroll down and click on that. I'm going to have that link there for you to check out if you want a good recommendation on a good solid magnesium supplement. The next thing is that when you do get pregnant or the next time that you are pregnant, I want you to remember, pair your carbs. It's going to be easy to want to go to carbs because that's going to make you feel good temporarily, but it's going to pull you right back down quick and then you're going to feel nauseous all over again. So I want you to remember, pair your carbs with your protein, fat, and carbs. That's going to keep your blood sugar sustained, okay, through for a longer amount of time so you're not up and down, up and down, up and down, feeling sick all day long, okay? And then my last little tip is to remember that the discomfort that you feel in the beginning, that it feels like it's lasting for an eternity, but it's not, and it's going to pass, and there's going to be such great joy and excitement when that new little baby comes and when he or she is in your arms and is a part of your family forever. So our children are, a huge blessing, and I'm so thankful for, Lord willing, the 3 that I have here on this earth with me and the 2 that I have in heaven. I'm thankful for the journey that it's been through all of them and what I've grown with and learned from through the journey with all of them. So I hope that you guys enjoyed today's little bonus episode on my first trimester of pregnancy. If you know anyone who is in their first trimester or anyone that's planning to get pregnant that you think that this would benefit, I want to encourage you to share this episode with them. And then if you're watching on YouTube, I want you to go ahead and go down to the comment section, leave me a comment, subscribe to my channel. If you're listening on Apple Podcast, I'd love for you to subscribe to this channel, and then you will get updates every single time I have a new episode that comes out. So that wraps up this episode over my first trimester of pregnancy, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.